Hello learners, I am Dr. Munish Kumar Bhardwaj from School of Engineering and Technology of IGNOU. Today I will discuss with you preservatives and how these preservatives are applied on timber to make it safe from different type of agents. So let us begin with application methods of preservatives on timber. Different methods of application of preservatives on timber are brushing, charring, dipping and steeping, hot and cold open tank treatment, injecting under pressure and spraying. These are the different methods of application of preservatives on timber. Let us begin with first brushing. The solution prepared from preservative is applied on timber surface by good quality brushes. This is the simplest method and it is generally adopted for seasoned timber. The cracks should be filled up before the application of preservatives. For better penetration, oil type preservatives may be applied hot and the preservative should be liberally used on the surface. The several coats of preservatives may be applied and enough interval of time should be kept between successive coats for absorption of preservative. Next is charring. This method of charring is rather very old and as such no preservative is used in this method in recent times. Next is dipping and steeping. In this method, timber to be given preservative treatment is dipped or soaked for a short period in the solution of preservative. This method gives slightly better penetration of preservative than in case of brushing or spraying. Instead of dipping, steeping or wetting of timber with preservative may be carried out for periods varying from a few hours to days or some weeks. The depth of penetration of preservative depends on the type of timber. Now let us move to hot and cold open tank treatment. In this method, timber is submerged in a tank containing solution of preservative which is heated for a few hours at temperature of 85 degrees centigrade to 95 degrees centigrade. The tank is then allowed to cool down while the timber is still submerged in the tank. This method is effective in giving protection to sapwood. Another method is injecting under pressure. In this method, the preservative is injected under pressure into the timber. This method is similar to the one adopted in creosoting. This is the most effective method of treating timber with preservative, but it requires a special treatment plant. This method proves to be essential for treating non-durable timbers which are to be used at places where there is a danger of attack by fungi and insects. Another method of application of preservatives is spraying. In this method, solution of preservatives is filled in a spraying pistol and it is then applied on timber surface under pressure. The pistol works under compressed air. This method is also quite effective and it is superior than brushing. Fire resistance of timber. As a general rule, structural elements made of timber ignite and get rapidly destroyed in case of a fire. Further, they add to the intensity of a fire. But timber used in heavy sections may attain high degree of fire resistance because timber is a very bad conductor of heat. This is the reason why time is required to build up sufficient heat so as to cause a flame in timber. With respect to fire resistance, timber is classified in two categories. First is refractory timber, another one is non-refractory timber. The refractory timber is non-resinous and it does not catch fire easily. Examples of refractory timber are sal, teak, etc. Non-refractory timber is resinous and it catches fire easily. Examples of non-refractory timbers are cheer, deodar, fir, etc. Although timber is combustible, but it is not easy to ignite in the sizes normally encountered in the buildings. Once ignited, timber burns very slowly and builds up a protective layer of charcoal on its surface, which insulates the remainder of the section from the worst effects of fire. This protective shield plus the excellent thermal insulation property of timber combined with a very low coefficient of thermal expansion and properties largely unaffected by elevated temperatures allowed a calculation method to be derived which can be used to ensure that the residual section after charring can perform its structural function even if fully exposed and subject to fire. Depletion of timber in a fire is slow and predictable and has been widely researched over many years. It has been established, for example, that a soft wood section will deplete around 20 mm in thickness and in width in half an hour during a standard fire test when fully exposed. It means it will take half an hour for depletion of around 20 mm in thickness and in width. Equipped with the facts about charring rate and knowledge that the strength of a residual section is relatively unaffected by exposure to heat, it is possible to design a section for a fire safety. Although timber members can be designed for full exposure in a fire situation, it is as much more common condition of timber to be concealed by other building materials like plasterboard in a timber stud wall, where these materials have fire resistance in themselves. They may be taken into account in determining the fire resistance of the element as a whole. Fire resistance is not the only fire safety requirement in a modern building. Many wall and ceiling surface are required to provide resistance to surface spread of flame. For fireproofing the timber, the method recommended is the pressure impregnation of the timber with large quantities of chemicals, and the most common of which are ammonium diphosphate, sodium arsenate, sodium tetraborate. These are the chemicals which can be used for making the timber fire resistant. Fire resistant paints are also available. Whitewashing is effective to some extent in retarding the action of fire. It is not possible to make timber fireproof. You can make it fire resistant to some extent, but it is impossible to make timber fireproof. Chemicals and paints only retard the action of fire. It completely do not eliminate. They only retard the action of fire. To make timber more fire resistant, following methods may be adopted. What are these methods? Application of special chemicals. Timber surface is coated with the solution of certain chemicals. It is found that 2 coats of solution of borax or sodium arsenate with a strength of 2% are quite effective in rendering the timber fire resistant. These special chemicals are known as fire protection compounds or antipyrines, as they are more reliable. When the temperature rises, they either melt or give off gases which hinder or forbid combustion. When the wood is treated with antipyrine, it does not inflame even at high temperature, but it merely smolders, means burns slowly without flame. The antipyrines containing salts of ammonium or boric and phosphoric acids are considered to be the best in making the timber fire resistant. Sir Abel's process. What is this? In this process, timber surface is cleaned and it is coated with a dilute solution of sodium silicate. A cream-like paste of slagged fat lime is then applied, and finally a concentrated solution of silicate of soda is applied on the timber surface. This process is quite satisfactory in making the timber fire resistant. Now let us move to seasoning of timber. When a tree is newly felled, it contains about 50% or more of its own dry weight as water. This water is in the form of sap and moisture. Water is to be removed before timber can be used for any engineering purpose. In other words, timber is to be dried. This process of drying of timber is known as seasoning of timber, and the moisture should be extracted during seasoning under controlled conditions as nearly as possible at a uniform rate from all parts of timber. It should also be seen during seasoning that the remaining moisture which cannot be extracted is uniformly distributed throughout the timber mass. If the drying is irregular, the shrinkage of timber will also be irregular and it will set up internal stresses between the fibers. When these stresses become excessive and are capable of overcoming the cohesion of fiber, the timber warps and shakes are formed. Wood is a hygroscopic material and absorbs water vapors from air. The dry wood absorbs the moisture from the surrounding air. The air humidity is not constant and hence wood moisture content also varies accordingly. As the humidity of air changes, here the wood moisture content will also change. The fluctuations in wood moisture content from 0 to the fiber saturation point cause the corresponding volume changes in wood, and what will happen? It will lead to cracking, warping, swelling and shrinkage of wood. Wood attains a level of equilibrium moisture content under the given climatic conditions of temperature and relative humidity. By the process of seasoning, the excess of water of timber is extracted in such a way that the moisture content of seasoned timber corresponds to the required moisture content in timber for the environments in which it is to be used. The seasoned timber should be protected from exposure to rain and excessively high humidity. Let us see some terms. What are these? Free moisture and bound moisture. What are these? Moisture in timber can be present in either in the cell cavities or in the cell wall. The former is known as moisture or free water, and major part of moisture in timber is present as free water, means when the water is present in cell cavities. The later one means when the water is in cell walls. It is known as bound moisture and it is closely associated with the body of timber. When timber containing moisture is exposed to the atmospheric conditions, it starts losing its moisture content. Free water is evaporated first, and the point at which the cell cavities no longer contain free water is known as fiber saturation point. After the fiber saturation point has been reached, the tendency of timber to shrink appears, and it is more or less proportional to the loss in bound moisture. Determination of moisture content. How you will determine the moisture content? The moisture content of timber is determined as P in percentage W1 minus W2 upon W2 into 100. Here P is the percentage of moisture, W1 is original weight of timber, means moist timber, and W2 is oven dry weight of timber. So that way you can calculate the moisture content of the timber. The samples of timber are taken in the form of pieces having dimension of 50 mm by 50 mm by 25 mm. The test piece is taken and weighed fresh. It is then dried in an oven at a temperature of 103 degrees plus minus 2 degrees centigrade. The weight of test piece in the oven is regularly observed till the variation in the last two consecutive observations does not exceed 0.002 gram. The test piece is then considered to be oven dry and its weight is noted. The oven dry method of determining moisture content is a standard method, but for field observations, electronic instruments are available for readily working out the moisture content of timber. Now let us move to the purposes of seasoning. That what is the purpose of seasoning of timber? The purposes of seasoning of timber are to decrease the weight of timber and thereby to lower the cost of transport and handling, to impart hardness, stiffness, strength and better electrical resistance to timber. Then next is to increase the resisting power of timber, as most of the causes of decay of timber are more or less related to moisture. To maintain the shape and size of components of the timber articles which are expected to remain unchanged in form. Another purpose is to make timber easily workable and to facilitate operations during conversion. Then to make timber fit for receiving treatment of paints, preservatives, varnishes, etc. To make timber safe from the attack of fungi and insects. Also to reduce the tendency of timber to crack, shrink and warp. Now what are different methods of seasoning? Methods of seasoning can be broadly divided into the following two categories. First one is natural seasoning and second one is artificial seasoning. What is natural seasoning? In natural seasoning, seasoning of timber is carried out by natural air and hence it also sometimes referred to as air seasoning. Timber in log form is not usually fit for the process of seasoning. Hence, it is cut and sawn into suitable sections of planks and scantlings. Timber pieces can either be stacked horizontally or vertically, the former arrangement being very common. The ground where the stack is to be constructed is cleared and it is levelled for good drainage. Here you see the typical horizontal stack for air seasoning. How in a horizontal stack the timber is placed for air seasoning. Here you see the elevation on the left and on the right you see the section at AA, that how it looks like. The platform of a stack is made slightly higher, about 30 centimeter than the ground level. For this purpose, rows of brick or concrete pillars are constructed. The pillars may also be made of creosote wood or wood coated with coal tar. The top of pillars should be in the same horizontal plane. The pillar should be durable. The timber pieces are sorted out according to the lengths and thicknesses. They are then arranged in layers one above the other. Care should be taken to see that all members in a particular layer are of same thickness. If this precaution is not taken, there are chances for timber to become warped or cracked. Each layer is separated by spacers of sound dry wood. The usual dimension of spacers vary from 35 mm by 25 mm to 50 mm by 35 mm. The larger dimension being the width, means here the 50 mm is width. The spacers are to be carefully placed in correct vertical alignment. The distance between spacers depend on the sizes of timber members to be seasoned. It is less for thin sections and more for thick sections. It usually varies from 45 cm to 60 cm. Length of stack is equal to length of timber pieces. The width and height of stack are restricted to about 150 cm and 300 cm respectively. A distance of about 25 mm is kept between adjacent layers. The stack is to be protected from fast blowing winds, rain and extreme heat of sun. Hence, the stack should be preferably covered by a roof of suitable material. The minimum distance between adjacent stacks should be at least 60 cm. What are the advantages of air seasoning? Depending upon the climatic conditions, the moisture content of wood can be brought down to about 10 to 20%. It does not require skilled supervision. It is uneconomical to provide artificial seasoning to timber sections thicker than 100 mm. As such, sections dry very slowly. Hence, such thicker timber sections are usually seasoned by the process of air seasoning. This method of seasoning timber is inexpensive and simple. Now, let us look at disadvantages. As the process depends on natural air, it sometimes becomes difficult to control it. Drying of different surfaces may not be even and uniform. If ends of thick sections of timber are not protected by suitable moisture proofing coating, there are chances for end splitting because the ends of such timbers dry rapidly in comparison to the central portion. If not properly attended, fungi and insects may attack timber during the process of seasoning and may thereby damage it. Moisture content of wood may not be brought down to the desired level. The space required for this process will be more, as timber will have to be stacked or stored for a sufficiently long time. The process of seasoning is very slow. So, this way we discussed about the methods of application of preservatives, then how we can make the timber fire resistant, and what is seasoning and what are different methods of seasoning. So, we will continue the methods of seasoning in our next lecture. So, thank you.